This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. It's Halloween and things got ooky spooky for our housemates as we said goodbye to not only one, but two. Welcome to a very special Halloween double eviction episode of He's Always Watching. From Glitterball, this is He's Always Watching, a Big Brother podcast. Hello Fishbowl friends and welcome to your eviction episode for week 5. And it's not just an ordinary eviction episode, no. It is a ooky spooky double eviction episode because for the first time ever, an eviction Friday has fallen on Halloween. Oh my goodness, it was the eviction that I personally did not want to see happen, but here we are nonetheless. Richard, Farida, and Zila were up for eviction, and Zila and Farida were the unfortunate two. But don't worry, we're going to unpack all of that in just a second. But we also saw the introduction of Bad Brother, and the house turned evil. The fans finally got what we wanted, and we got a little taste of evil Big Brother. Before we head to our break in this pre-break section though, I want to talk about the headline news, which is of course our double evictees. So let's get into it. Look, there was no good way to do this. The three that were up were totally the wrong choice for me. It didn't work because each of the three are huge characters in that house. There's no other way to look at it. And I think it's kind of criminal that it wasn't 4 or maybe even 5, because this was a horrible decision to make. There was no good outcome in this situation, I don't think. However, I am glad that Richard has stayed just to purely put the wind up Caroline, because she is going to be furious. Although I must admit I did feel bad for Zila with the reaction that he got while he was in the house from the crowd. I was like, that isn't great. However, they did cheer him upon his exit, so all's well that ends well. But I really do think the Sam situation, coupled with the Fiashola situation before it, probably was why they reacted that way. However, I did find it interesting that we heard a lot of get Caroline out chants when we were seeing the bits from AJ and Will outside the house, but you didn't really catch that when they crossed to the house. And I was like, where is this energy when you've crossed to the house? You want her to hear it, so say it when they've crossed to the house. It was a bit like, oh, that's a bit of a limp noodle, because I know there was talk online of we must tell her what we think, and then you didn't, guys. So what are we doing there? Do you want to rethink that one for next week? But back to the eviction. This just made me sad, to be honest. I'm glad they were both in good spirits upon exiting the house, but still just made me sad. We're going to get into Farida's eviction interview first, because I feel like hers was a little less spicy than Zila's. And it was just kind of a nice little roundup, tie it with a bow of Farida's time in the house. She just seemed genuinely happy to have done it again, and fair play to her, she really did liven up that house. But Zila's eviction interview is where things get interesting, because while we got some resolution to the Sam situation, I want to point something out first, and that is we didn't get equal resolution to the Fiashola situation. Because I find it very interesting that we got the Sam diary room discussion alongside Zila's discussion in the snug, but we also didn't get the same treatment for the Fiashola clip that we'd seen on Late and Live and a lot had been made online about. So it's like, okay, if you're going to discuss one and give Zila a right to reply there, why not discuss both? Because I feel like both did have a significant bearing on why Zila was sat where he was. Yes, Caroline was the only one to nominate him, but at the end of the day, the public made the decision, and I personally believe that decision was made because of those two relationships we'd seen, and perhaps it rubbed the public the wrong way. I was correct in that we got told it was purely platonic, but I have to give Zila credit where credit is due. You could very much see that he was like, oh dear, I should have handled the Sam situation entirely different. So credit where credit is due. I was glad upon seeing that he went, no. Because it was very clear in the last few days that Sam was kind of smitten and had just gone on his merry way as to, yes, he is into me and we're going to make this work. And very obviously, upon seeing that footage, Zila was like, this isn't good. And he owned it, which I was like, fair play to you, well done. You can't really argue when somebody owns a moment and goes, I've made a mistake. Because we all saw it on the outside going, this is no. But he owned it, so you can't really complain. I do really think it's going to be very interesting when Sam comes out of that house and they unpack all of that. Because, oh boy, is all I'm going to say. One more thing while we're talking about eviction land before we head to the break. I do think it's going to be very interesting to see whether Caroline digs her heels in, because I definitely think she's going to be pissed off. But will she dig her heels in and target Richard more? Or will she finally do what she should have always done and shut the hell up? Enough, Caroline. Enough. You're insufferable when it comes to Richard. I just can't. So I am quite intrigued to see whether she will dig her heels in or whether we might see them finally turn a corner. Because I did think it was interesting to hear Richard say that when we're alone, things are fine. So I wonder whether this is finally potentially going to rumble her behaviour to the group. One would hope, because honestly, it's getting a little bit samey, Caroline. Find a new angle, love, because this ain't it. Nobody in that house is an antichrist, and you are being so far over dramatic, and this is coming from a man who is very dramatic. I mean, for God's sake, look at what I'm wearing today. Just give it a rest, love. Enough. But after the break, we're going to dive into all the bad brother chaos, and good God, did they turn up the theming for Halloween. Plus, I'm going to give you my predictions for the week ahead, because we still have a lot of housemates and only 2 weeks left. So is Halloween over yet? I suspect maybe not for our housemates, but I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. It is time to talk about Bad Brother, because Bad Brother took over the house for Halloween. Let's start with the first challenge the housemates received, which I'm calling the Gunge Bucket Challenge. This was spicy. I really felt for Cameron on hearing Jenny kind of question him and how that narrative about him not missing his parents has continued. It very clearly bothered him, as we saw with his conversation with Zila afterwards. And it was uncomfortable because I was like, this poor guy doesn't actually deserve this. He's been nothing but lovely to her. And I do wonder whether this sub point is going to cause an issue in their friendship. Because I'm wondering whether he will begin to feel that he can't trust her. And I don't know, it just makes me sad. I don't want to see someone like that who's been a good housemate but also a good human the entire time he's been in the house feel so down. But I loved seeing Jenny get gunged, as I did love seeing Marcus get gunged repeatedly. Props to him, he was a good sport about it, but I feel like we've finally seen Marcus come alive in the last week or so. Although, to be honest with you, with the whole Tate thing and the whole bowl thing, I kind of wish he'd gotten back in his box. I'm probably in the minority here with that. Sorry to tangent, but I don't agree with Marcus and Tate with the bowl thing. It's like, if Sam does the washing up pretty regularly, which by the sense of it he does, like wash up after himself, just fix it. Like Nancy just went and did it. Just do it. You're in a house with, I don't know, 14, 13 other people now. Just do it. That would be my approach. It's just shut up, because at some point maybe you're going to slip and forget that you haven't done the washing up. But then you can't be mad if someone else holds you to account now, if everybody's supposed to do their own washing up now. If you forget at some point, Tate, do not be surprised if that comes around to bite you in the behind. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. Back to the task. I think maybe Jenny might reconsider what she says going forward, because I feel like even she's a little uncomfortable about that now. You could just kind of see it on her face. And speaking of people who might regret what they say, I think Sam is probably going to have a significant personality shift, because we saw it all kind of dawn on him during the task and then again after the eviction. So I don't think Sam is in a good place in the house right now. I suspect he's probably very shaken up given what we heard post-eviction. And I think this was the beginning of that. I think Sam put on a brave front, but especially when his object of affection, Zila, was calling him out, I think it's all started to crumble. And I think we will see that continue to crumble now, especially now that Zila has left. Ugh. But this first task, I think, was good. I think probably Jenny was the major surprise to the house. I feel like the house were actually pretty good at owning what they said, to be fair. So that was kind of impressive, because I would have thought some of them would have kind of run away and hid under a rock, but they didn't. So there you go. However, it was the phone task where things got spicy. There was a series of bad calls. Well, bad for the recipient at least. The signal was perfectly fine and the intent was very clear. Of course, Richard got to get his own back at his nemesis, or self-proclaimed nemesis, because really she's been the one pushing that pedal, Caroline, and give her bad credit, in which she had to forfeit all her balls. However, what she doesn't know is Farida has swept in like a white knight and gone, here, you can have mine, as she's left, but she'll find that out eventually. This, I really enjoyed seeing Richard kind of even the score. I don't want to say get revenge, although let's be real, it probably was. Even the score between him and Caroline, because this one-sided beef, not only is it getting old, but you can see it's starting to bother Richard, I think. I know he said it's pantomime, we're fine when we're on our own, but this many weeks of that continuing for no good reason is a bit much. And I'm also wondering now, moving forward, whether the house will also tell Caroline to pull her head in with the whole calling Richard the Antichrist and all of this nonsense. Who I felt for, though, with these calls was not necessarily any of the housemates, but I felt for Farida in having to shred Emily's letter. The henchmen were correct in that this was the only really fair decision. And of course, Emily was upset, but as she said herself, she saw her 2 weeks ago, it's fine. But I really felt for Farida, because you could see that Farida did not want to do this. And the fact that Richard was over in the corner throwing a tantrum, over having to do this meant she had to step up. And I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. The other bad call that I also enjoyed was a Caroline-centric one, which was the Wheel of... What was it? The Wheel of Doom? You get the point. The Wheel of Bad Choices. I'm so sad that she did not lose her nomination, because I think that would have been far more interesting to watch, or even lose her bed. She got the easiest option of those three. And I'm really quite disappointed that she doesn't have a harder road ahead of her with the losing the bed or the losing the nomination, because I think both of those would have been far more interesting to watch. But all of this, of course, was to win them a luxury budget. And in the end, they got 15 out of 20 keys, I think. And they successfully, after a dropped key, well done, Richard, freed Big Brother. This proves what the fans have been crying out for, that ITV can do an evil Big Brother. So it is a little bit of a shame that they didn't do this for an entire season. Or even, the entire week. I don't think they will ever do this for a full season, because I don't think it fits who ITV try to position themselves as, like a reality hub. I don't think this suits the way they see themselves. But would I have liked to have seen a full week of Bad Brother? Yes, because I think they did a really nice job, again, theming the space for Bad Brother. A little side note with that I really want to touch on, because it's all I could think about, is the theming for Bad Brother was giving me serious, if you get the reference because it's a little bit obscure, serious game station Big Brother vibes, with the font choice and the eyeballs that were all around the house. I was like, oh, this is very Bad Wolf, very game station Big Brother, and I really enjoyed it. So it's a bit of a shame we didn't get to see all of this play out over a week or a couple of days. This has been my gripe the entire season, you guys know this, but it proves they can do it. So I guess we'll see if they step into it fully, because they did actually a really good job with these tasks and making the housemates squirm. And I think it was kind of needed to kind of just keep the energy flowing and everything rumbling along as we go into the last 2 weeks of this series. But speaking of the last 2 weeks of this series, oh my God, we have come so far and we still have a little further to go before we crown the winner of Big Brother 2025. I am not comfortable in giving you my winner's prediction just yet, even though I know I gave you one at the start of the series. I'm going to hold off my final winner's prediction until next week. But I'm a little bit shocked that we still have so many housemates with 2 weeks to go. And I'm just praying they space out the evictions, like make it a double on Friday, so we are not having constant backdoor evictions. I'm really quite scared of that in this next week. But what are you going to do? I think this next week will be interesting now that Caroline still has to face Richard. But I do suspect that the house is going to get sick of those two very quickly. Anyway, there you have it. That is your lot for this episode of He's Always Watching. I would love to know your thoughts on the Bad Brother task and this week in general. Do you think the right two went home on Friday? You can let me know by heading over to socials at He's Always Watching Pod on Instagram and Threads. You can come and say hello over on the Bird app, formerly known as Twitter, at We Are Glitterball, and you can leave me a comment over on Spotify and on the YouTube videos. So hello if you're watching the video version over on Spotify or YouTube. Lovely to see you. I hope you've appreciated the hat and I'm cosplaying as Mastermind Ross today because I was like, I don't really have a costume, so we're going to do this instead. Thank you for being here. You can find one more piece of the He's Always Watching puzzle with the He's Always Watching the details over on Patreon and very soon, excitingly, on Apple Podcasts. So the extra bits and bobs are going to come straight to you over on Apple Podcasts because I've looked at the stats. I know where you all listen. So hello, Apple Podcasts. You'll have some extra goodies very, very soon. But what a week we have had, hey? What a week it has been. I will see you again next week for more chaos inside Britain's most famous house. And I can't wait. We have 2 weeks to go. Oh, what a series this is, hey? Have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next week. In the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching. See you soon.